911. What's your emergency? This is 911 emergency. What are you reporting
Hello, and here we are again for another episode of We Speak Dispatch. Today I am going to be hosting it. This is Glenna over here, and we have our usual suspects, Joe and Doug. And today we have a very special guest here. We're always having fun with our recordings and here at We Speak Dispatch, but today we're going to kind of tone it down a little bit, talk about a very serious issue. Our special guest here is Michelle. From a fire agency here in California, and we're very happy to have her on. She's going to tell you what we're talking about today. Michelle?
Hi guys, thank you for letting me join and have this discussion. I know I'm going to be a total Debbie Downer, but I want to discuss a pretty heavy topic that I think is necessary for us, and that's how do we prepare and train our dispatchers for hearing death and trauma. I don't know about you guys, but back when I first started, it was get the address, hey, what's going on? Okay, and then we hang up the phone. And we've evolved away from that. We become invested in these situations. And what are our agencies doing to accommodate that and to make sure our dispatchers are fully prepared for handling those situations and coping with those situations?
Okay. Great, and we only have 15 minutes, and that's a lot to talk about. Let's start with you, Doug. Let's talk about where do we prepare in training? How do we prepare trainees for what's going to happen?
You know, I think that just speaking from my experience, it's been very little training, very little like actual, like, here's how you handle something like that, a suicide or a murder or whatever. There's been very little discussion about it. And I'm not sure why, but it just sort of is a topic that's like almost taboo, that don't talk about it. If you go get a hamburger or go sit over there for a minute or go do whatever, and that doesn't help. So, I mean, I've been neglected. I was in charge of our training program and I didn't have that much training in that. We brought in somebody to talk about suicides, but that was about it. But the actual listening to somebody take their last final breaths has just got to be absolutely traumatic. And we don't talk about it.
Joe, what do you do at your agency?
Yeah, we're not there yet, but we've made a lot of progress. And making sure that the employees know all the resources that are available to them.
Oh, good.
We definitely reiterate our EAP program. We implemented a crisis type team, and we also involved the dispatchers in getting a few of our dispatchers trained in peer support and providing that support within our own walls and our own dispatchers from one peer to the other. And we participate in a larger team as well with our law enforcement agency. And we're also reaching out to the fire department to participate in after action reviews. They're inviting them over to get some closure as well. So we've taken a lot of steps to work on getting the dispatchers some closure. And the interesting thing about that is we're not there yet. To me, we have a long ways to go to make it better. But I think you start preparing those dispatchers for those calls by telling them, first of all, how to handle those calls. You ask these questions, you take these steps, but then also telling them after you've had one of those calls, okay, here's some resources that you have available to you so that you can move forward with the next call, and also making sure that they're in it together, that everybody's checking on each other.
Yeah.
Good. I know in my agency,
oh, sorry.
I know that my agency, we've been doing it for quite a while. We have a pretty strong peer support program. Of course, I say that because I'm the coordinator, but being a dispatcher and the coordinator, we make sure we don't let the dispatchers, they're not left out of anything. However, with that being said, it's been almost 20 years since we've started a peer support program, and it's still evolving. It's never going to be done evolving. There's always a better way to do something. It starts at the very bottom level. It starts with the trainee, and it starts with the dispatchers, and then it moves up to supervision, and then it moves up to admin. All of those entities need to be a part of preparing people for trauma, because how do you prepare somebody to hear somebody shoot themselves on the phone? Or how do you prepare for a mother screaming at you that her baby's not breathing, and you have to calm her down enough to try and do CPR, and then you find out the baby dies? Did you do something? You start second guessing yourself. So all of it starts at the very beginning with the trainee, and then it goes on to the dispatcher, and then it goes on to supervision. Michelle, do you guys, I know you said that you guys are still evolving, I think like all of we are. What are you guys doing right now, and what do you hope to do in the future that's helping that?
Yes, so we're definitely trying to make some progress too, seeing that it's necessary for it. We're in the beginning stages of developing our own individual peer support there in the communication center, which is going to be really good. And one of the things that I had the pleasure of developing was working with some of the members of our EMS bureau. It was something that we named the Integrated Conclusion of Care. And like you mentioned, Joe, it reinforces the importance of closure. It's a narrative document that went from beginning to end. So it describes the 911 call. It describes the situation that they found on scene. And we even got cooperation from the local hospitals to give us some follow-up on the situations.
Wow.
So we put this together as an objective description and gave it to everyone that was involved in the incident. And it was emotional, but that's what we wanted. We wanted to solicit those emotions so that everyone involved could process through that and move on. The dispatchers don't ever get closure on these calls, and it's horrible. It just kind of lives with you, wondering what happened. Even if you know that it was a bad situation, you're kind of wondering if, could I have done something different? Could I have done something better? What could I have done to make a more desirable outcome? So,
And, I just wonder if fire is different than PD. Like,
oh, absolutely.
because I worked in PD, there was a kind of a underscored, like, it shouldn't bother you.
Right.
Like, have these emotions. You should be able to handle it and be a man and suck it up. And it's like, I can't even, I mean, my last year was horrible. There was things that I could not control. It was just like, holy cow, this is terrible. And it's
it wasn't like your last year was 10 years ago. This was last year, right?
Yeah. And
so.
I mean, I really felt like I was not at a position where I could maintain, like, it was hard to talk to people on the phone when you get a suicide or whatever. I just felt myself very emotion driven. And that's why I think, what's it with fire department? Do they have more because they do EMD and they're actually on the phone working these people through? Does that kind of like, I almost think that's worse.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely a difference in the type of calls between law enforcement and a fire EMS agency. But no, you're absolutely right. Our dispatchers will end up on the phone, 20 minutes plus involved in this situation, giving CPR instructions. And how do they feel when that isn't successful?
Yeah.
How does that impact them?
Joe, what do you guys do?
They
Do you do
experience
both?
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
Do you do both, or do you do fire or just law enforcement?
Yeah, we do both, and we also take all the ambulance calls, and then the ambulance gets notified. They dispatch the ambulance separately, but we take 100% of the calls, whether it's EMS, fire, or law enforcement. So we take all the calls and enter them into our into the CAD system or whatever. And one of the interesting things is watching each agency evolve and working together with every agency, and dispatch becoming a part of that. And it's part of working together with these agencies is also building relationships, because for the first few years, that's what I was trying to do, is build a more solid relationship with our fire people, because sometimes they take less calls than law enforcement, so they would feel like they were maybe not given as much priority or something along those lines, when behind the scenes that really wasn't the case. And so we worked together, and I am beyond proud of how much our fire department invests in us and how much they include us and everything else. And I think that it needs to be more than just the law enforcement calls. And hearing you guys have I want to get the acronym right, so let me see if I can do this. ICOC. Did I listen well enough, or did I not listen well enough?
ICOC?
Her program that she just
Michelle,
did.
is that your program?
Oh, ICC. Oh, you were close.
Okay.
You added an extra one.
ICC.
We're all like, wait, what?
ICC.
I thought I missed it too.
I
Did
see.
I go to sleep?
Okay, that is very awesome that you have a program like that to work as well. And how many of your dispatchers are fully invested in that and participate in that program?
It was very well accepted by the dispatchers and even the field responders. You guys know that they arrive on scene and the situation that they're walking into can be totally different than what appears we dispatched them to, because we have those hysterical callers that are not able to give us all that information. So it kind of bridged that gap of understanding between what the dispatchers experience and what the field responders are walking into and experience as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Then the last question I have for you is, how often do you get everybody together? Or is it read only, or do the people actually get together? Do you read these reports, or do you actually get them together, Michelle?
Yeah, so I mean, we're trying to reach a lot of people. We've had to rely on the read only, which has still been pretty effective.
Oh, yeah.
I've been able to personally touch base with the dispatchers in the communication center, but read only was a good way to reach everybody.
I love that. That's such a good program.
Wow.
Okay, so as we wrap things up here, one thing I do want to say, before I was a law enforcement dispatcher, before I did 911, I did EMD. This is way back when it first started. Yeah, it is different, but a dispatcher is a dispatcher, and emergency 911 dispatchers, we're such a unique group of people, but also trauma is trauma. So, you know, we're talking fire, EMS, any 911 entity that deals with trauma. This needs to be an episode that they need to see, because it's very important that you start talking about it. This is a good starting point for dispatch centers to start talking about, hey, how do we deal with death? Well, we're not really doing anything, so maybe we should start something. Or if you are starting something, how do you make it better?
Well, the best part is if somebody's watching this and says, we would like to start something, they could update a Facebook message or send us an email.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get it to Michelle and say, Michelle, help these people.
Yeah.
Yes,
Michelle,
Michelle, you're going to have a lot on your hands in a minute.
That's right.
Okay, well, that's
I think
all
it's
the time.
important for
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead,
it's
Michelle.
important for us to remember that the impacts of the exposure to indirect trauma, which is what we experience as dispatchers, there's similar effects to the field responders who are exposed to direct trauma, and we've got to evolve with that in the communication
Oh,
centers.
amen. Amen. There's no difference. Dispatchers experience the
Yep.
same type of trauma. The indirect or secondary trauma is the same as you would feel in the field. The physical symptoms are absolutely the same. So very
Yeah.
good. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Doug,
well-
where are we at on social media?
We are all over the place. My God, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can email us at wespeakdispatch@gmail.com. And if you want to be in Michelle's seat right now and say, hey, I want to be on you guys' broadcast, you come up with a great topic, send us an email, and here you go. It's that easy to get on here. And Joe, all right, tell them where they all are on podcasts.
That's right. We update the podcasts on Sunday. Doug updates social media sites in the middle of the week. We are on Apple Podcasts, new one, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, and Overcast, and maybe more to come soon.
You can't get away from
Find
it.
us everywhere.
We are everywhere.
We're going to be on Muzak in a Target someplace. So
I know. Elevator music. Well, thanks for joining us, Michelle. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you guys for having me.
Have a really good week. We'll talk to you guys soon. And thank you for watching. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Hi, this is Courtney, and you've been listening to another great episode of We Speak Dispatch, proudly sponsored by our friends at Zybex.
911, what's your emergency? This is the police department. How can I help you? You need fire or medical? 911 emergency, what are you reporting? 911 emergency, what are you reporting? 911 emergency, what are you reporting? Hi.